I might sneeze.
Ooh.
Ooh, I might sneeze. I think that's the perfect way to start.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to
Just Haunted House Things.
All right.
All right. So I guess today I'm going to lead it.
Yeah,
This is exciting.
I know.
I feel like
This is your wheelhouse,
this
though.
yeah, to be fair, this is you are I will like secede. Is that, I think I'm using the right word to you in most haunted house information.
Yeah.
I used a big word all by myself. But I will say when it comes to story and character development, that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that.
Yeah, I'm draw a lot of inspiration,
Yeah.
do a lot of research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have like, story I can deal with, but character development, like personal, like actor wise, like that's all you.
Yeah.
Like I can draw the map.
Yep.
And then you set the tone.
Like you do a really good structural setup.
Yeah.
But it's like without a good structural setup, you can't have a good story and you can't have good development of character.
Right.
So without that to start, everything else you're just kind of screwed on.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to talk today about story and character development, good and bad, and things we like and things we don't like that we have seen or have heard about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited for this one.
Me too.
So what, Courtney, do you think is a good, like, basic story for, like, a haunted house?
Just like a general.
Like, what's your
story?
favorite type of story for any haunted house?
Oh, man.
And it's, like, it could be anything. It could be, like,
That's a
specific or, like, genre type.
I'm always a fan of, like, old time, like, abandoned, like, hotels.
Ooh, yeah.
Those are fun. And, like, anything to do with, like, I don't know, 1930s vibes.
Yeah, like older.
Yeah. So I watch a lot of walkthroughs on YouTube.
Yes,
And
you do.
Some might say it's obsessive.
Or passionate.
Well, yeah.
It really depends on the way you look at it.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Exactly.
So I was looking at Knott's Berry Farm, aka Knott's Scary Farm, right now because they just opened, I think, on Friday. So that was like the 16th or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had a haunt that was like a carnival / like hypnotist type thing. Or wait, or am I getting too confused? No, they had one called Mesmer. So, and it was like 30s, 1920s kind of vibe. And there was like a hypnotist and you go through, and the further you go through, like the more intense it gets.
Yeah.
It was really cool. They had some really cool elements to it. And like those kind of things I really dig.
Yeah.
Because it's taking something simple from our past and like making it look like something that would be like really, really, not scary.
Yeah.
Like,
hey.
Take something that's like totally harmless and then like really spinning that into like this deep, dark story.
Yeah.
And they had these really cool elements. I'm going to be a nerd about the design for a second.
Of course.
But they had a really simple element where they had like a mirror room.
Yeah.
And then, but in the middle of it, they had like these mirrors that were spinning.
Ooh.
So you would walk through and it was like a kind of a square shape. But the mirrors in the center were spinning, so you couldn't tell which way to go.
Yeah.
Because the light was changing constantly. It was so dope. And I just think like simplicity in those forms is really good. Anyways, that's my rant.
Also, like what I really like about that type of haunted house too is the realism that comes from it, because it is, like you said, based on our past.
Yeah.
So it's almost scarier as you walk into those houses.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, people actually lived in this time, especially in the 20s and the 30s, where like we talk about Wild West, but like things went down back then. Not that we know personally because we weren't there, but like stories went down and like crazy things happened because there wasn't as much. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like shootings were more frequent, and like realistic scary things were happening more so without a solution at the end, without a resolve.
Right. A little bit more lawless.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And it's and when you take that into nowadays, it's the realism of like, well, things like this kind of actually did happen. So how can one say that it won't necessarily happen today? And then you put yourself in that situation. So it kind of, for me, makes the fear a little bit more like heightened,
a little more real.
Yeah. Like I love those type, like Victorian style. I love that kind of story because we don't have any real evidence of what happened back then. So it's like, maybe some guy did try to like summon demons in his basement and like,
yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like possessed, but his neighbors don't know. And they're just like, think he's gone nuts.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if we really want to dive into the clinical side of things, is maybe he actually did have a mental breakdown, and then people are blaming that onto like a possession of some kind.
Yeah, because, you know, you might have leeches in your blood.
It's like, and the only way to solve that is to drain you out and put some cocaine in.
Yeah. Man. Just some of the, okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole different
That's
episode.
a whole other meandering story we're not going to get into. Yeah. I think that like my favorite type is like, it's one of two, and they're very different. It's either going to be like the Victorian style, like older house, like realistic families who maybe just broke, or like the Amityville horror style where it's like one person just like murdered everyone.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I want to find out what made this house make a family go crazy.
Right.
Or on the complete flip side, it's like demonic hell.
Yes.
Mostly because, you know,
you have history with that.
I am an inner goth kid forever, for life. And I love the idea of like demons rising from below and coming into our world, whether they are looking like humans and just demons below, or you actually like can see a demonic creature in front of you,
ethereal being of sorts.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like the inhuman being type trope that can be utilized throughout many different haunts.
Yeah.
I do like that because like literally anything you could think of, you can make awful.
Oh, 100%.
And like if anyone walked through my nightmares, they would see some pretty messed up stuff. So, I mean, like if you put that in a haunt, I would be dead.
Oh, yeah.
And like I know other people who have messed up dreams. So anything that's like out of this world, like beings, people will be terrified of.
Yeah.
And
I used to have this dream. It was a reoccurring horrific nightmare. And not really like, it's kind of a haunted house because of the way that it presented itself. It was like I was at a school and we were doing one of those overnight sleepover things, stay up as late as you can. And it wasn't even my school at the time, but I just remember specifically all the lights went out,
right?
And all of a sudden there was a murderer in this school, and we're trying to find out. And of course you have parent volunteers, and my dad in the dream was volunteering for this thing. And somehow I end up in a hallway, and it's a dark hallway with the windows on the side and the moonlight shining into the lockers. And you have the outline of
super
the
cinematic.
Windows. Oh, 100%. My dreams always.
Of course.
And I remember just like looking down the hall, like turning around and looking down the hall. And of course my brain does like the auto zoom in, and there's my dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad. And then all of a sudden, like from behind, a murderer comes and like kills him. And I was like, no. And then it does I don't know the technical, but it does the zoom out.
Yeah.
Of like, and then like vertigo happens, and and like I'm just like, no. And I had that reoccurring dream.
Oh my God.
For probably 3 months in a row.
God.
And then it just stopped.
Just out of nowhere.
Just out of nowhere. And I have no idea where it came from. But I would end up using that later on. And when I would try to like freak people out in a haunted house, and I would see someone who like looked like my dad, I would start screaming at them, Dad, no, he's right behind you. He's gonna kill you. And it would freak these guys out because they're like, one, I'm not your dad.
I'm not your dad.
I'm not your dad. And 2, who's gonna kill me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be effective.
Yeah, it was like you said, cinematic, but like I was able to draw from my horrific nightmares as a child and bring that into my character development later on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I ever told my dad that. So Dad, if you're listening, surprise.
Sorry, Dad.
Sorry, Faja. Yeah. So are there any types of haunted houses story-wise that like you just don't find effective?
Great question.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things you can do with haunted houses that will either work for some people but not for others.
So, okay. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this one.
Ooh, controversy.
Yeah. So, I feel like, okay, if you're doing a haunted house,
Yeah.
first and foremost rule, stick to a theme.
100%.
Because I've seen haunts that just don't have a theme and they just kind of throw a mishmash of stuff that they think is scary into a house.
Yeah.
Or I guess in a maze, which is fine. And like I get it, some places don't have a budget to completely theme out a place entirely.
And they're
but
just
if
trying
you're
it
gonna
out.
do a theme like in a room, go balls to the wall with it.
Yeah,
Like,
especially if you're going to promote like that type of a theme.
yeah. And if like you have to do a mishmash,
Mm-hmm.
at least have some kind of story to explain the mishmash.
To have the connection between the two.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just for people like you and me, and we're the like top consumers, I
Yes.
would assume. And I'm assuming other people who are listening are like heavy consumers of the haunted attraction world.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's boring.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of home haunts can't afford that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But home haunts I find are really catered to like the community
Yes.
and family, and that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not coming for home haunts.
No.
Okay?
No. Also, shout out to home haunts. If you're going to turn your house into a home,
Hell yeah.
like a haunted house,
We're
like,
here for it.
impressive.
Love you guys. But if you're like a pro haunt
Yep.
and you're making money off of people coming to your haunt
Yeah.
and whatever, or even if you're like, I don't know, like a semi-pro kind of haunt, like you dedicate a lot of time and space to making a haunt,
Yeah.
put a theme to it.
Yes.
Put a theme. Number 1, okay? Number 2 of my biggest, like, that doesn't work kind of thing is not, how do I put this? Is allowing your scare actors to deviate from that theme. So say you have set up a scene that is traditionally like, a Victorian house.
Yep.
Where everything's super gothic and whatever, and then you throw in a clown. Like that, I've seen it.
It's so
It's weird,
discombobulating.
and it throws you out of the entire experience. Like
Yeah.
you're supposed to be suspending reality,
Yeah.
right? At least that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
Because that's how you get a good scare.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people that would work because it's a scare, it's loud, it's exciting or whatever. Like that's your easy scare.
just it's your jump scare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple. But for like, I'm going to guess about 80% of your clientele, they're going to go through and they're just going to be confused. Sure, they might get scared,
Yeah.
but it's not going to make sense. They're going to
Yeah.
be like, what the hell? There's a clown, but this room does not fit that
But
theme.
this is like a seance room kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I get it because like I hate
every time.
every time Mr.
Hello,
Lucifer wants to come join in on the action again. What an adorable cat. But if you don't know who Lucifer is, he is Courtney's cat, and justifiably named Lucifer because he's a little bit of a hellion, but he's got the most adorable mustache and booty paws that you can't
Yeah.
be mad at
I
him.
probably posted about him a couple of times. But
Oh, 100%.
he's an adorable little
Yeah.
floof.
No, but okay, to get back onto
Yeah.
track. Sorry, little man. As someone who is very scared, or actually I can't say I'm very scared anymore. I am still scared of clowns. They still make me
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily super scared anymore.
No.
But back in the day I was terrified, as you know, refusing to work any type of haunt that revolved around clowns. If I was in a Victorian style or a medical style or any type of like haunt that wasn't clown or circus like, and I saw a clown in the middle of it, it may make me jump for a second, but it would make me really confused
and question it.
And personally, that's what I would be focusing on for the rest of the haunt instead of enjoying what is actually there in front of me.
So just like cohesiveness, I guess, is like my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like actual themes that I don't think are effective, it's just how it's done.
Yeah.
Right? Like any theme, you could make anything scary.
Yes.
It's just how you do it.
Yeah.
And it may work for some people. It may not work for any people. Because I remember, and I know someone who's going to be listening to this is going to giggle about this. I know someone who really wants like an underwater house, and someone told them that it wouldn't work. You can make it work.
Yeah.
I 100% know you can make that work. It's just about how you go about executing it.
Yeah.
You can literally make anything scary.
Totally. I mean, I'm already visualizing it in my head where it's like, because I've never seen an underwater haunt myself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you have the correct, like, production design, if you have the correct type of, like, structure, like, you could even start, like, where people are up high and when they enter, they have to go down.
Yep.
You can make it a shipwreck. Oh, wow, I can't say that word. Theme. Like, one of the scariest movies for me growing up that I used to watch on the TBS Superstation was Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
And, like, that shit was scary.
That was creepy.
Yeah. So you can make it work.
So I'm a firm believer that you can make anything work. Yeah. It's just a matter of how you do it and how you execute it. Because you could have the greatest idea for like a demon house.
Yeah.
And statistically, that should be like your scariest thing. Or like zombies or clowns or whatever fears that people have that are like statistically a higher fear, like a higher...
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking at? A higher population to fear ratio.
Yeah.
And it could still suck.
Yeah.
Like, example, when we went to Halloween Horror Nights and we went to
sad.
There
No, it was great, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and that one was sad.
We went into one of their Halloween houses.
Like literally.
It was from one of the Halloween movies. I can't remember which one it was supposed to be.
I think it was honestly because
Resurrection?
it was
I can't remember.
It was a little bit of like Resurrection / H2O.
Yeah.
/
It was really weird.
The first, like, that's one of the things that was like discombobulated is they had a theme, but it wasn't super cohesive.
Yeah. And so like, I just remember because we were like really excited for it.
Yeah.
And we were like,
well, Michael Myers is my favorite.
Yeah. And we were like, he's scary. It'll be exciting.
Yeah.
And it was the worst haunt of the night.
I was so sad. I mean, I enjoyed it because I was just happy to see a good old Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But I think I only jumped once, and that was because the dude came from above the wall.
Yeah.
Over the overhanging wall.
Yes. Yeah.
And like stabbed down in front of us. And I was like, I jumped because no one's expecting something to come from over a wall at you.
Which is that was a great execution.
Totally.
But everything else of that house was really lackluster.
Yeah.
And of course it got other people, which is fine. But overall the theming was not there. And that was disappointing because it's coming from Universal.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that night, a haunt that we had underrated, Insidious, was the best.
Oh my God.
One. And it was all in execution. It was darker lit.
The red, oh my gosh,
the red lighting everywhere, and just the timing was so good.
They got me even before we even got into the house.
I remember that. And like, it got you, and then suddenly it got me, and then every 5 seconds it felt like we were getting scared.
Yeah. I actually had to close my eyes at one point and have you lead me through the house.
And I kept jumping and laughing and doing that thing that I love where people are like, oh my God, shit.
I gotta get out of here.
So like, anything can be scary. It's just execution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And things that you think are going to be scary. Like, Michael Myers terrified me growing up. Mm-hmm. Like, I would watch a Halloween movie and then I would not be able to go outside because I'm like, no, he's behind those bushes waiting.
Behind that bush right there.
I think one of the things that before I get onto that, I'm actually really curious is like, why did that person think that the underwater haunt wouldn't work?
I can't remember the reasoning,
Oh, that's sad.
but we should ask him.
Yeah.
Jacob. Jacob, why do you think Underwater World would not work?
Jacob. Oh, I'm sad now. Tisk, sir. Tisk.
He was the
Tisk.
one who was telling another one of our friends that it would not be like scary, like that wouldn't be scary. Like, sure, Jacob, that could not be scary for you. We get it. You're
Ooh.
brave.
Well, okay. Yeah.
But like realistically, if you think about the ocean,
like a lot of people have a fear of the deep or the open water.
well, it's unexplored.
Yeah.
It's an unexplored world.
And they are finding weird, very large creatures
Okay.
all the time.
Have you ever seen a picture of an anglerfish?
Is that the one with the light?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are scary.
Have you seen how big they are?
No.
They're giant.
Oh, I don't. Oh, God, she's bringing up the Google.
Because this is integral.
Very off topic. Have you ever seen what they considered a blobfish?
Yeah.
Did you know that they don't actually look like that until you scare the crap out of them? They actually look completely different. And then if they rise too high or if you scare them too quickly, they end up like turning into what we consider the blobfish. They're actually very cute fish beforehand.
Right.
Yeah. I'm looking at this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, is that real or is that a mechanical one?
That's I think that's like a model.
Oh, okay. So like based off of like skeleton and
Yeah.
stuff. Fossils.
But like
Holy
they're
fuck.
giant. I never thought that they were that big, but they're that big.
Like,
So-
okay, seeing that in Finding Nemo would not be the same as seeing that in real life.
No.
The teeth on that thing.
Yeah. So like that's terrifying. And then if you think about like the largest like octopus or something.
What about that giant squid that they've only seen like 3 times?
Oh yeah.
Like, real life is terrifying. The fact that we need to put it into haunted houses, like, that's why I think a lot of the time that people enjoy like realistic, like Amityville horror
Yeah.
or a Victorian style or a medical like haunted house or anything, an asylum or anything like that. I think that's why those are so scary, is because they're so close to reality.
Yeah. I do
Oh,
think
Jesus, what is that squid?
yeah. They're giant squids. Those are giant squids, and those things are legit.
Squids and snakes are just like, love animals, love creatures, mammals, amphibians, all that kind of stuff. Don't need nor want to be wrapped up
No.
and strangled by one.
And like that's the thing is like there's creatures in the ocean that we just don't know about, so it can be scary.
Absolutely. I saw this creature, again, this is completely off topic, but I saw this creature of like an alligator, but it was an alligator in like, oh my God, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it was, anyways, the snout of it wasn't as wide as like a regular alligator.
Right.
And it was super thin, like a swordfish,
Oh.
and long,
Right.
but jagged teeth. So they said it was easier to like clamp and hold, but it's also more dangerous because the teeth are more exposed as
Right,
well.
right.
Terrifying.
Yeah. I don't like that.
No.
So okay, reverse question.
Yeah.
When I say reverse, I mean I'm just gonna ask
To
you
me.
a question. So like for you,
Yeah.
what do you find are like, because you asked me like what are the things and themes that I find ineffective? What do you find ineffective? Because I know I'm a lot harder to scare at this point. I would say you're
I've gotten medium hard to scare.
yeah.
I'm so
yeah.
proud of myself.
You're
and my
not
growth.
easy mode anymore.
No, because now it's like I expect more because of working it so long. For me, things I don't enjoy. Honestly, I don't enjoy mazes. And I don't know if it's too open.
Now, when you say maze, because like in the States,
Yeah.
they call their haunted houses like what we would like our haunts.
Yeah, like inside
That
like
would-
a house.
That's what they would call a maze.
Okay.
Are you talking like
I'm talking like
corn maze?
like a corn maze
Okay.
style, corn optional. I like corn. But it's I'm not a fan because I'm a type of person that really likes patterns.
Mm.
So if I'm in a maze, I'm actually working out just how to get through it,
Right.
or to get to the center.
Right.
And it's not really scary for me because I'm expecting that there's going to be people right around the corner, whether they're scary people or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always like more self-aware in that type of situation.
Right. You're not really letting yourself experience it then.
Exactly. So I think that's just more of a personal thing.
Mm.
Plus I find it's harder to maybe decorate or to get a real theme in an actual like kind of corn maze, unless you're doing like I'm a farmer who's gone nuts or
Yeah.
feels liberated and wants to steal your heart kind of thing.
Right.
Has a pitchfork.
Yeah.
But that's kind of scary. Just a pitchfork coming around at you the entire time. Yeah, so those ones don't do anything for me. And then also ones that are based off of, I think, fears.
Mm.
Like specifically if you go to a haunted house where it's like, oh, this is all of the greatest fears out there. That does 0 for me.
Again, it would probably be better if it's like executed properly.
Yeah, I'm sure. I personally haven't gone to one that has been properly executed. But it's just because some people are afraid of the dark.
Right.
100% valid.
Great.
Some people are afraid of spiders. What up? That's me. But it's like, if I'm going to go from something that like I find genuinely comfortable, like some people are scared of thunder and lightning. Again, a very valid fear. I find so much comfort in thunder and lightning that if you're going to take me into a thunder and lightning room and then I'm going to turn a corner and all of a sudden be in spiders, or vice versa, I'm going to be in spiders and then be in thunder and lightning, my emotions and my fear are going to have such whiplash that I'm just not, I'm going to tune out completely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to my statement earlier about like keep the theme cohesive.
Exactly.
And like I feel like with fear type haunts, like that are based entirely on like individual fears.
Yeah.
Not like a cohesive haunt solely on one fear.
Yeah.
It's like multiple. I think you need to give it air to breathe.
Yes.
So like what you're saying, going from one room immediately into another where it's something completely different.
Yeah.
You need kind of like a palate cleanser.
Yes.
Whether that's like a dark hallway or whatever, I think it would work it better.
Yeah.
And lighting would be incredibly integral in that.
100%.
And then also your character development, because obviously you're going to have actors, because you can't just have like a haunted house without actors.
Well, you'd hope so.
You would hope. Or like at minimum badass animatronics.
Yeah.
But you need to like really pay attention to your character development and what goes into those rooms, because that would also help elevate the theming of that room.
Exactly. And it's again, like we've said, we sound like broken records, and it's not to say that these can't be done and they can't be done well. I just currently haven't found that type of house that's done it well.
Yeah. Like, not to say that it's not scary.
No.
Like, 'cause some people can find that scary.
Absolutely.
But
people will pee their pants. Who knows?
They'll have a great time.
Absolutely. And maybe, you know what? Maybe it's more of an informational thing to other people where they're like, oh, I didn't know that some people were so scared of the dentist.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's really, but like it does nothing for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, just on a side note, one haunted house that I just don't want to go into is like the asylum or medical type of houses.
Yeah, I'm kind of over that trope.
Yeah, it's been done a lot.
Yeah.
But 2, it's more of like a personal, I have a lot of family who work in medicine. My parents, my mom like ran the emergency room growing up. My dad was a deputy fire chief and a paramedic. They're both retired now, living their best life.
Yeah.
But my sister-in-law, she is a nurse, and maybe it's just the climate of the world, but I don't find that stuff scary because it hits home too much.
That it's too close.
It's a little too. It's like it's more sad than anything.
Yeah, and well, also like with the like asylum type themes, it's very insensitive.
Absolutely.
A lot of the times, like when I was young and dumb.
Yeah. Before we knew better.
Like, yeah, that was scary because like we didn't really think. Nobody talks about mental health in the same way, like as we do now, comparative to like back when we first started getting into haunted houses.
10 years ago.
Yeah, and like 10 years ago doesn't feel that long. Pardon me. But the climate of the world has changed in terms of like actually speaking of mental health and
calling out things that are inappropriate.
Yeah, and like, you know, at least having some sympathy and empathy and compassion for people who actually have these, you know, mental health issues.
Absolutely.
And so like when we're kind of poking fun of it in the haunted attraction industry, we're probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I don't care.
That's okay.
Like poking fun of it is just like, it feels wrong and demoralizing at this point because like there's so many other things that you can do that are much more scary and don't hurt anybody.
Yeah. And it's, I think there is a way to do those types of haunts in a good, like, I guess, appropriate manner.
Yeah.
But like, maybe don't go up to a character and say, well, you're schizophrenic, so go be scary.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. Like I get where the idea comes from, but who says schizophrenia is even scary?
It's just one of those things that's like outdated, doesn't really need to be visited anymore, in my personal opinion.
And if it does, do something new.
Yeah.
Try something new.
Figure out a way to make it like weirder. Like, I mean, we could go back to the storyline of like Michael Myers when he, you know, is in a clinic. Yeah. And he, or like it's, how do I put this? Where he gets out and it's like a serial killer type. Yeah. Trope.
It's not he always was a serial killer and he was just in an institution to keep himself and others safe. Yeah. But no matter what, he was always going to kill someone. Yeah. And it wasn't because he had a mental illness. It was just him as a person was going to do that kind of thing.
His core values say, I'm going to kill this person.
His moral compass was different than most other people. Yeah.
No, I mean, that is a mental health issue on its own. Yes. But that's like a whole other can of worms that we won't get into.
And a whole other podcast that we would need way more research and degrees to actually be able to talk about.
I need
properly.
To call up a friend about that one.
Yeah. Phone a friend. Need a lifeline.
But like, yeah, there's ways to do stuff that's like scary without like poking fun at people. Yeah. And poking fun at their like their issues that they are actively going through that could be triggering to some people. Yeah. Like, we get it. There's always going to be something controversial in the haunted house industry.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the nature of the beast. Yeah. But like, there's ways to do it that aren't completely insensitive.
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. That's the general census.
Just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah. Simple. And I honestly think that if you did like a haunted house, like hospital thing where, you know, there was like some kind of gas leak and an entire explosion in a hospital happened. And now everyone's like half burnt and they're just like trying to bring you in and like they're trying to bring you in and kill you so that they can steal your flesh so that they can leave the hospital. That is a great idea for a haunted house.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah. Someone build that and just credit me. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there's ways that you can build a storyline that doesn't like harm anybody's like personality.
Exactly.
Or, well, I'm not personality, but
their inner self.
Their stuff.
Yeah. Like I wake up in the mirror and do that to myself anyways. So I don't need a haunted house to remind me of that.
We all have issues, man.
And we just channel ours into scary things.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Okay. So what do you think is a solid like way to develop character for a haunted house? Well, and you like that's a very vague question, but if you had to choose a character that you have enjoyed playing in the past, what is like some of the techniques or exercises or what research have you done to develop that character?
Okay. Well, number one is like hopefully your haunt would have at minimum
Yeah.
a semi like story background
Okay,
that
yeah.
you can pull from for
Yeah.
that haunt, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. If not,
Mhm.
I would suggest going through the haunt itself.
Yep.
Lights on or not.
Yep.
Up to you.
Both even.
Both experience the vibe, understand the house because it now is a living, breathing thing, right? Treat it as such.
Yes.
Because it's now your story, right?
It's now your home.
It's your home for however long. So you kind of have to ground yourself into it and you can understand the vibe because there's going to be music, there's going to be noises, there's going to be animatronics that you can look at. Kind of take notes of everything, like mentally or actual notes.
Actual notes. Bring out a notebook.
Yeah, why not?
Or I guess write on your phone because that's the day and age we live in.
Yeah, and like, okay, so no story.
Yep.
Go through your haunt. Even if there is a story, go through your haunt.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's like
Anything
101.
and everything you can grab from around you develops a character. Like if you look in your own house, the objects like your furniture
Yeah, that's your
describes who
character.
you are.
Yep.
Your decorations, the clothes you buy, everything is gonna tell
character.
outside people about who you are.
Totally. So that would be like 101.
Yep.
Step 2
Mm-hmm.
would be, I guess, kind of either researching storylines that are similar to your haunt.
Yep.
Or kind of sitting in it.
Okay.
I think. I wouldn't say meditating on it, but
Though you could.
Yeah. But like really thinking through it and understanding it, and I'm just trying to think of like all the things that I used to do. Because I know that I would like read a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And I would like, even when I was in the haunt, like as I'm developing it, I would like play with my body language a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm first learning that character.
Yeah.
And over time, like if you're a newbie, it's hard at first.
100%.
But once you become like really accustomed to like the process
Yeah.
of being a haunt actor, it gets quicker.
Oh yeah.
So like playing with body language, and like if you guys have like a show run where it's like a rehearsal, that's really helpful. Because then you can put on the costume, you can put on the makeup, and you can kind of see yourself changing.
Yep.
Because your face is no longer your face.
It's your dress rehearsal.
It's your dress rehearsal. So you're like seeing the different part of you.
Oh yeah.
And so that kind of helps. I do know that some people have done like the mirror
Yes.
work where they like sit and look at themselves in the mirror and they like play the character and then they adjust as they see fit. I also know that there's been like group work.
Yep.
Where you're with your haunt characters.
Yes.
And you play off of each other in your character.
That's my favorite way to help new people
Yeah.
like get into character.
Yeah. Because when we would do training, we would like send them off into like their little groups with their little haunt.
With their little house
Specifically
supervisors.
our roaming teams.
Because because you've got your in-house characters, which is a little different because in-house characters, you really get a room to develop on.
Yeah.
So you get like, if you're in a kitchen or a bedroom or a basement, you really get something to work off of.
Yeah.
And that helps develop your character and where they are. But it's like, if you just have haunted actors who are hanging out in a park or outside of a haunted house.
In the lineup, like line characters.
Exactly. It's so much different because you don't necessarily have like props or artwork or
animatronics.
You have to really have your character.
It has to be down.
Is everything. Yeah.
So like working with your partners or your group is really integral. Because like you can play off of them, and like if they're doing something, sometimes you kind of want to do the polar opposite.
Yeah.
Because that's like those connections they're really interesting.
They
right?
are. It's like magnets either attracting or like repelling, and it's interesting to see how they work.
Exactly. So I think there's that. And then a lot of improv is really integral.
Which is really hard. So it's like not everyone can do that.
No.
But it's fun to try and play along.
Yeah.
And just remember the most important thing in improv is always say yes.
Yes. Yes, let's.
Yes, let's.
A great game
That
to
was
play.
a great game to play. Yeah.
And then there's also the game Yes and.
Oh yeah, that you add on to it.
Yeah.
Continuously.
Yeah. What was one that we played all the time? It was it was the game where you would say like I'm doing insert action here, and then the person had to
So person A would say, I am playing basketball. So person B would jump in and would start playing basketball. And it's, what are you doing?
Yes.
And then person A would be like, what are you doing? And then person B who's playing basketball would be like, I'm brushing my teeth. And then person A would take on that character.
That whole.
It's like really on the top. And then if you don't know what you're saying, you have to jump out and then another person jumps in.
Yes. So those kind of exercises are really integral for haunt characters because you literally have like a split second to determine what you're going to do as people are coming in your room. And if it's like a really busy haunt, you have less than that.
Yes.
So that is incredibly integral to character development.
Yeah. It gets you out of your head and just I feel it makes you embody the character, because you when you're just being your regular self on the street or when you're hanging out with friends, you're not that's not true. I'm up in my head all the time. But you're not usually up in your head thinking about like, how do I sit in this chair?
Yeah.
But as an actor, when you're taking on a character that's not who you genuinely are, you're thinking, how would this person respond?
Right.
And with different type of games like that, it gets those actors out of their head so that they can just like have fun, just react.
Yeah.
I remember one time I had this actor, he was standing next to one of those like elevator rides as a scary person, and he thought that this was just the funniest thing in the world, and I still think it's hilarious. But he was just having a conversation with this person as they're sitting on the ride, waiting to be shot up into the air.
Yes.
And he had the timing down on when that ride would shoot up.
Right.
And I remember he looked at the guest, and right before they were about to shoot up, he heard the sound starting to go on the ride, and he was like, "Hey, did that screw fall out of your chair?" And then up that person in the ride went. And he only used it once in a while, but he was like, in that moment, he was like, this would be so funny and terrifying.
Brutal. But it works.
Amazing.
But it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think, those kind of things are funny. And like, it's unexpected things, right? That really get you. One thing that I did one time, I'll just tell you one of my own stories.
Please do.
I love this story, and I have no idea how I got away with it.
It's going to be good. You know it. She's already laughing.
So I was playing like a doctor character one time. And so I was like kind of embodied like a Beetlejuice type character.
Ooh, yeah.
Because like it's fun. Right?
Oh, Beetlejuice is so fun.
So I'm talking like a weirdo, like Beetlejuice, right? And for whatever reason in my brain, I got the bright idea to start offering free liposuction.
Okay.
And so okay. Again, no idea how I got away with this. So I'd be like having a general conversation with people, because like how I start my character interactions is I'm just having a conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm in character.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to like these middle-aged women, like, so ladies, are you looking for any type of surgeries? I got your surgeries. And I'm like pulling out my jacket. There's nothing in my jacket,
Like
but I'm
you're
like
a guy on the street selling some fake Rolexes.
yeah, I'm like, I got lipo, I got like, I don't know what else I was saying, but lipo was
stuff. Yeah.
I got lip injections, butt injections. What do you want? Right? Like just being a general like
oh my God.
and so I just remember these ladies being like they were asking questions about my procedures.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, so what's your main, like, how do you do your liposuction?
Yeah.
And just like without thinking, I just went, shop vac.
Oh my God.
And they were just like, what? What the heck? That just didn't know how to respond. And then I remember one of them being like, okay, so how do I get into this? How do I get an appointment with you?
Yeah.
And then I pointed over to the giant line of the house and I said, get in that lineup. I'll see you in 2 hours.
Oh my God.
And they went and got in line.
Oh, that was awesome.
So it was just one of those things that just like it worked
Yeah.
because I allowed myself to like sit in the character
Yeah.
and just like commit.
100%. Yeah.
And also with that character, I was asking people for their arms.
Yeah.
Because like,
Why not?
why not?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, can I have your arm to this one guy? It's so stupid. And he was like, well, I'm using it. I was like, no, you're not. Like, you're clearly not.
Clearly, it's just hanging there.
And he's like, but I need it to write. I was like, do you need to write right now? And he's like, well, no. And I was like, so give me your arm. And like, any excuse people gave me,
Yeah.
I was like, nah, not good enough. Give me.
Yeah. That's mine now.
To
That's
the
mine.
point where it became really weird, and then they'd get awkward, and then they'd just like run away.
Or just like back away and look back at you and be like, that's not a real doctor, I don't think.
That person doesn't have a PhD. Do not. I do not. Have a
There is no
PhD.
MD behind that
So,
name.
so I think if you allow yourself to like sit back into the character and allow yourself to be silly, allow yourself to like go into it without hesitation,
Yeah.
you will do fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is that fine line
Yeah.
of like that you kind of have to teeter on of like, is this appropriate? Is this not appropriate? That's a big thing.
Yeah. Especially depending on the type of haunt you're in, because it's like,
Yeah, because like
there are some extreme haunts where you can really get away with. I mean, there's extreme, and then there's extreme.
Yeah. Like the ones that are that you're speaking of as extreme
Oh God.
are the ones that are like 18 plus.
Yeah.
You can swear.
Yeah, and like
Maybe
you
touch.
can get away with certain things, and you can yell things because it's like you pay that extra money to go into a haunted house to really get scared, to not have to deal with someone who, instead of saying like, oh, I'm gonna get you, you better run away, you little scallywag. It's like someone will be like, I'm gonna fucking gut you. Like there's a difference between that.
There's a whole different vibe. So like, yeah, depending on where you work, there's a fine line. But
Absolutely. And then it's completely, no, I wouldn't say completely different character development. Like the core is always going to be the same.
Yeah.
Like you need to know, like when I went to acting school, when we were developing just characters for like film and TV, it really was the simplest thing to start was with who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are you? Like what around you helps identify your character. When, so like obviously the timeline, because if you're in the Victorian era, you're not going to like walk around like someone who is a 90s supermodel style kind of thing, right? Completely different walk, aesthetic, everything. Where like the, not just like, are you inside, outside? Is it a house? It is a warehouse building. And why? And it's like, why are you there?
Yeah.
Like, what, like, are you dead? Are you about to die? Are you doing the killing? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into what a character is.
Yeah, like what places you in this moment in time.
In this specific time. And for some people, as characters, that changes from night to night. When I would develop a character, one of my favorite characters to develop was a woman who had her rough story was she had passed away and was brought back to life.
Right.
But when she came back, she didn't come back with full brain function.
Yeah.
It was
a reanimation.
Yeah, it was a reanimation, but she didn't come back 100% complete.
Right.
So I took that and I really kind of fed on, not that she was quote unquote crazy, but it's like, okay, so it's not that she's like half of her brain is gone. It's like she only has certain things that she can mentally handle at a time.
Right.
So I'm actually the type of person who is, I wouldn't say I'm full method. Like I'm not a Meryl Streep type of method actor.
Right.
But I'm definitely someone who embodies it more so. Which I know it can be annoying for some people when coming at a character because it takes me a little bit longer.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to live together, Courtney and I. And let's just say when I would do plays, I'd come home and she'd be like, you were that character tonight. And I was like, yes. She was like, I'm going to go watch TV. And I'm just like, I'm just going to sit in my room with a single candle lit while I think and ponder life's consequences.
Yeah.
But I tend to find other characters or people or instances, and I take little things from each area that I like or that I find works with that character.
Right.
So for that reanimated character who came back to life, I really drew from this wonderful character from Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Okay.
Drusilla.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many people know. I mean, if you don't know,
Yeah.
you should know.
Sorry.
I'm just saying, if you don't know, go find out.
Okay.
Anyway, she was a fantastic actress who, again, she had not fully, like, she wasn't fully aware and she wasn't fully there, but she was this beautiful character who had empathy and sadism, and like, it was great. She was a vampire. She was evil, but she also had this really lovely, soft, tender side.
Right. Okay.
Which went back and forth like a light switch. She went from a crazy maniac to this lovely little girl who played with dolls.
Right. Okay.
And I really liked that because the character was a mom that I was playing.
Okay.
So I would go back and forth from like, I'm going to suck out your soul and I'm going to deliver it to the heathens, to all of a sudden, but don't you want to go pick flowers in the garden afterwards? So it was like really back and forth. So I would draw from that. And I would do that with like demon characters too. So if it was someone who maybe you were playing like kind of I want to say Death Eater, but that's not it. It's like actually just Death. Grim Reaper. There's
Okay,
the word.
yeah, there you go.
It's that black cloak thing. So
Found
it's like
it.
if you're playing, if you want to like, if I was playing the Grim Reaper, it wasn't just, okay, my job is to go get dead people. It was like, okay, so what can I take from that? Do I have a backstory? How did I become the Grim Reaper? Do I have any comedy in me? Am I like a Grim Reaper like from the show Dead Like Me?
Right.
Or am I a
Great
Grim
show.
Reaper from like Family Guy? Or
Yeah.
just like the one that doesn't talk and just
Yeah. Doom and gloom.
like from Scrooge, right? Where he's just all he does is like point you down to where your coffin is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it, for me, it's I pick and choose what's out in the world, and I take it on. And sometimes things don't work.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you want to go be a red devil, and you realize that picking dandelions doesn't necessarily work to scare.
No.
Surprising. Who would have thought? But if you are a red devil and you're picking like weeds out of a cemetery, yeah, that's a little bit more,
It's a little weird.
a little bit more unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. There's a lot of things that you can do to like heighten your character, and like, I just feel like once you're doing it, you learn a lot. Like after one night, you'll learn more about your character in the span of like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like really quickly.
Yeah.
And you also find like what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because with traditional acting, comparative to haunt acting,
Yes.
it's essentially like performance art.
100%.
Because you kind of have to, well, not kind of, you do have to adjust yourself to the public.
Yep.
Because you're dealing with so many people in a very small amount of time.
Yep.
So you find quickly what works and what does not work with that character and how it translates to the guests and their experience.
And it can be so unsettling because it's like you could do the same thing 5 nights in a row and it gets good scares or good reaction every time. And then on like that 6th night, all of a sudden it just bombs.
It bombs
And
completely.
it could be maybe that just doesn't work for the character anymore. Or it could just be the crowd too. Like being on stage, as you were saying, with like performance art, there could be times that people are running through a stage production, a musical, and it's a hit. And then it could just be an off night, and all of a sudden, like, you don't get any laughs, you don't get any cheers or
There's
anything like that.
nothing, like no vibe.
And sometimes it's just that's not based on who you are and what you've developed as a character. It's just sometimes
Sometimes it's an off night.
shit happens.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here is the ultimate question.
Okay.
What are some of the worst things you have heard? And I'm not talking like derogatory or anything. Like, homophobic, racist, or anything like that. Though those should
Those
never
are
be
awful.
said in a haunted house.
Don't
I'm
ever say
putting my
them.
foot down on that now.
I hate it. Also, themes that are homophobic, racist, culturally appropriative,
Culturally inappropriate.
and inappropriate. But like cultural appropriation type themes. Stop it.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
No, like I have
Get lost.
never gone to one of those, I'm pretty sure.
No.
And if I ever have, I've walked out pissed off.
Yeah.
But I have no recollection of ever going to any of those because I never would.
No.
Like who
Stop it.
I'm gonna get angry if we get on that topic.
Stop it.
Anyways, so aside from all of the horrendous things that some people like to do, what are some of the worst things you have heard in a haunted house, whether it's a sound effect or an actor, a scarer saying something?
Oh lordy.
I know there's so much.
Well, there's like,
Can we just start off with the classic boo?
yeah, stop it. I literally like
Her face is so like it was just a fuck off stop. That's what her face was.
literally
Literally.
have contemplated firing people for saying boo, and probably have.
Is there any time where someone has said boo that you've been like, oh, that worked?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's usually when someone's playing like a little kid character.
Yeah.
And they're like hiding behind like a curtain or
Yeah.
something, and then they come out and say boo.
So it's
And
more of
then
like a playful thing.
It's a playful thing, but then it turns sinister.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like the context.
Yes.
Right? Context is everything. But I hate it. I still hate it.
It's not like a top choice. We would never recommend it.
Like I hate it. If you can say anything other than boo, like literally anything other than boo.
Would you prefer boo or get out?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tough
my
questions.
insides just
The rage.
Can I say neither?
No, I'm going to make you choose one or the other.
Shit. Okay. I guess Get Out is a little bit more what's the word? It's less stupid. I couldn't think of anything else. I was like trying to be smart about it. I can't be smart about it. It's less stupid than boo.
Yeah.
Because boo is what like your significant other does to you when you've like walked out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anybody can do it. It's not scary.
When I hear boo, honestly, I think of the Christina Ricci version of Casper,
Yes.
where they tried to scare with boo, but it didn't work. And I'm like, oh, it's adorable.
It's campy. It's stupid. I hate it. There's so many other things you could say. Like,
no slack to like the 5-year-olds who use that to scare their
yeah,
parents.
you know what?
That is a good base when
That's
you're that
the
age.
only exception.
Yeah.
Is when you're a kid
Yeah.
and you're just being a kid.
And that's, like your first word. Boo. Boo.
Okay.
So
So
Get Out's bad.
Get Out is
Yeah.
bad because
Great movie, bad thing to say in a haunted house.
yes. So
Actually, fucking fantastic movie. Sorry, it's a whole other thing.
it's an incredible movie. So the term "get out" in
Yeah.
a haunted house is stupid because you're wanting to kill these people,
Yeah, a lot of the time, the premise of the house is to get these people in it.
and now you're telling them to get out.
Yeah.
No, stop.
Yeah.
Stop
That's
it.
Contrary to your mission and goal.
Yeah, your goal is you want to chop up this person.
And eat them, maybe.
Yeah,
Or just, have a nice new hat.
maybe you're wanting to have a nice dinner for them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
With them. Of them.
Of them.
All of it.
Yeah. Or like maybe you're trying to convince them to stay in your dungeon.
Yeah.
Maybe you're trying to convince them to come down to the depths, mermaids person.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Your premise of the haunt is not to get people to leave. I mean, yes, it kind of is, but not in that moment because that character should not be asking you to leave.
You have to get them to leave without telling them to leave. It's all reverse psychology.
It's psychology.
100%.
Yeah. You want to scare the crap out of them so that they leave,
But so
don't
they come
say
back. Yeah. But don't say it.
because it's stupid.
Yeah.
And it's overrated.
And also, if you say get out and try to get them to leave, they're not going to.
No, they're gonna be like, "Ooh,
Oh, what are you going to do? Make me? You can't touch me.
you can't touch me. I'm gonna stand right here and stare at you now."
Unless it's one of those, again, extreme haunts where they can touch you.
Yeah.
That's,
And then in which case, sure, say get out.
yeah. In that case, say get out and they'll be like, make me. And you'll be like,
Okay.
okay, motherfucker, let's do this.
Oh, that sounds evil. So okay, so Boo and Get Out.
Yeah.
on the no list.
On the no list.
What would you
Oh my God.
think is another?
It's so hard.
There's so many. Oh, I can think of one.
Of course you can. There's no context wailing.
Oh, just
Screeching.
screeching.
You're like, the fuck was that?
What are you doing?
Like, I just, it's different if you're the ghost from the Christmas past who's got the chains and you're see-through and like, you're like, you're going to get 3 ghosts who visit you tonight or something like that. Like,
Marley.
but it's not, but like if you walk in a room and all you hear is, you're like, that
Whatever,
music
man.
sounds off.
Yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah. What else? Obviously, Get Out. That's a horrible one. I find I have an issue with people who are like, I'm gonna get ya. And you're like, no, you're not. I was told the rules at the beginning. You're not allowed to touch me. So you got to be a little bit more clever with it.
It's, yeah. So that and like the old play with me.
Oh, yeah.
Play with me.
Play with me.
Like, okay. So with those types of terms
Yeah.
of like, I'm going to get you
Yeah.
or play with me, it's like if you end it there,
Yeah.
like, okay.
Okay, but because it's you're opening it up for something to happen that can't happen.
Yeah. So in those instances,
Mhm.
if you use those terms, have a plan
Yes.
of what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Because they're listening.
Yeah.
The guest is listening. And
Hopefully.
like with, I'm going to get you, maybe turn it into I'm going to get you and I'm going to gut you.
Yeah.
You better run.
Or if you do like play with me, you can go like, play with me. We're going to play hide and seek. And when I find you, I'm going to strangle you with your intestines kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was really
And
specific.
then, like-
I went right into that one.
And then, doing the old, like, as they're like listening to this and then you get ready.
You start counting.
Yeah.
And
And then
it's
they're
like-
like, uh-oh.
And people will get out of that room when that happens. Because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we have played and I have not agreed to this, but it's happening anyways.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
it. Okay. Yeah, it's like it's all context based.
Yeah.
For those two, for sure.
Yeah.
Like they're not like they're not like we're gonna hate you forever if you do it, but
Yeah.
I might judge you a little bit. It's just
lot.
context.
Yeah.
It's context.
It's just again, just like haunted houses that can or cannot be scary. It just depends on how you're doing it.
Execution.
Yeah, execution is a big part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then executing someone.
Yeah.
Hey,
What up?
Ooh.
Okay, so what is like your favorite things to say?
Ooh.
And after you've answered that one,
Mm-hmm.
what is the weirdest thing you've heard someone say in a haunt that you were not expecting and you're like, what?
Okay.
Okay.
So, I got a couple of answers for that.
Okay.
So, what was the first question?
What? Okay, we'll do this one at a time.
Okay, one at a time. I can only handle so much.
So what is your favorite
My favorite thing to
like,
say?
lines or like your go-to favorite that seems to work?
Ooh. So if I was playing a kid,
Yeah.
I loved making up nursery rhymes on the spot. I could not probably repeat any of them that I have said because they've changed all the time.
Right.
But I would take something like Ring Around the Rosie or like any type, like sometimes I'd even take like a popular song that would play all the time on the radio and just change the words a little bit.
Right.
So like that was always really fun for me because one, the guests never knew where I was going, but also I never knew where I was going. I would just find something that rhymes.
Like, this is surprising.
Exactly. I'm like, well, that came out a lot more gruesome than I intended. Fun. So that's like I really enjoyed that. But then as I was talking about that, one of my favorite characters to play, the one with the split personality, I really enjoyed the fact that I could literally say anything. I could go from something super gruesome and scary to like I'd be like, I'm gonna gut your insides and I'm gonna put it into a stew, to all of a sudden to be like, but did anyone look at the clock today? Like, it would be so back and forth
Yeah.
that it would freak people out because they're like, I don't know what this bitch is saying.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened.
Exactly. But I'm like, good. I have confused you. Good.
It's the
Yeah,
confusion.
exactly. I have set you up to go into the next room and pee your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now before we get on to that second question,
My favorite
things to say.
things to say. Anything that's like really offhand. Like my story of like the liposuction thing. Like I have no idea where I came up with that. Like, well, I kind of have an inclination. I'm pretty sure I had watched 100 or 1,000 Ways to Die.
Nice. Oh, and then someone
And
died by like liposuction.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was like a in-house, like
I
their
actually
friend
think
did it.
I've seen that episode.
Anyways, so like it popped into my brain and I just went with it.
Mhm.
So I think it's things that I am not expecting myself to say that end up being the best.
Yeah.
I remember in the OG house that we used to work in.
Yeah.
In the nursery. Oh my God, we bring this up like every episode. The
Probably.
nursery.
The nursery.
It was just such a fun room to
but
play
it
in.
was. Because there's so many things you could do in it.
Yeah, so I was playing the character that you were discussing earlier,
Yeah.
the one who had been reanimated. Actually, no, I was playing the character. No, yes, I was. Sorry.
Courtney's currently reanimated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay. No. Oh, I am reanimated. Oh, sad. Okay.
See, things can take a dark turn at any point.
Okay, so I was playing the character Brienne was discussing earlier. And I remember in this nursery we had this, I think we've talked about this prop before, where it was like a crib
Oh, the
with the animatronic that pops out of
yeah.
the crib.
Which honestly, to this day, I never knew if it was a skull, if it was a zombie. What was it?
Well, it was a skeleton.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
It
good
had
to
a
know
sheet
now.
on it. It had a sheet on it.
Oh, yeah.
It came up. Anyways.
Yeah, the sheet covered a lot. That's why.
Yeah, I stared at that thing too long.
Yeah.
So many times. Okay, so was in this room and there used to be like a chair
Yep.
that you could sit in. I think there might still be.
Yeah, I
Anyways,
just think there's something else in it now.
yeah. So you could sit in the chair and I just remember I was singing like a lullaby and like pretending like I was holding a baby. And then when people would come in, they'd set that off.
Yeah.
And then I'd just scream about about waking the baby. Like, how dare
yeah.
you wake my baby, blah, blah, blah. Like, and just absolutely lose it because they woke my baby.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's so simple.
yeah,
And just because it's loud and aggressive, but they understand that there was a story there, like she was singing to the baby.
you walk in, you see that, you don't want to disturb the
And you're
crazy
like,
mom.
Don't disturb the lady who
Yeah.
is singing creepily.
Yeah,
And then suddenly just the flips, like the switch flips.
yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's terrifying. And then they run off.
Yeah.
Like little turkeys.
Zoidberg.
Meandering.
My favorite part.
Yeah. So like, I think it's just stuff that's like kind of unexpected, but sometimes it like good things that are planned. Like
Yeah.
that one was planned.
Yeah.
What's another? I used to give my actors challenges when they were like feeling kind of bored with
Yeah.
a character, because we spent a lot of time because it was a almost year round haunt.
Yeah.
So sometimes the actors would get a little bit bored of the characters
Or stagnant.
or stagnant,
Yeah.
and so you kind of want to see some progress, or at least add a little life into them.
Yeah, it helps them like get them out of that funk and also just like
Yeah.
helps them through the rest of the day.
Yeah. So I once gave an actor a challenge to, I don't know if anybody's seen like Arrested Development,
Heck yeah.
but there's that part where they're talking about like how each person in the Bluth family doesn't know what a chicken sounds like and how
yeah. Hot chicha chicha.
Cha-cha. Okay, and so okay, I won't get into it. So
I fucking love that episode. Sorry.
the greatest
Sorry.
episode. So I just remember the fight between Job and Buster.
Yeah.
And how Job does the
Oh yeah. Yeah.
where he does the clapping, and then Buster yells, "Chickens don't clap!" And so I remember saying to this actor, I was like, you should try and scare people by doing both of those.
Yeah.
Like, do the Job chicken.
And
And then switch to Buster
Yeah.
being like, chickens don't clap. And I was like, bet you can't scare that way. Like, try scaring this way, but I don't think you can do it. Like, it was a little mean because I think it was like a dialogue like, oh, I could scare someone that way. I was like, no, you couldn't.
yeah, it's like it's presenting a challenge.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I presented this challenge to this person and they did it.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
Because, of course.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying. Both of those things.
Yes.
Like,
Especially if they're being like screamed at you.
yes. Chickens don't clap! Like,
They can if they want to, man. Not really. But yeah.
it was the greatest thing.
I used to do the same thing with actors as well. I'd go in, and a lot of the time I would give them one word challenges, and it would be something, like you said, just so off the cuff. Like I remember one time I gave them the word ketchup, and I was like, okay, you need to use this word in your scares. I was like, I'm not going to tell you when I'm coming around, but I want to see if you can scare someone by using the word ketchup. And people rose to those challenges just because it's so obscure. And you're like, how do I do this? Especially if you're not in the kitchen where you're like, I'm going to chop you up and cover you in ketchup kind of thing.
Right.
So if like you're like playing a doll in like a doll house or something like that, how do you use the word ketchup to scare someone? Exactly. Yeah.
That would be a challenge.
But I found out that like when you gave people the most obscure things to do,
It would work.
the most brilliant things came
Yes.
out of it.
I got a challenge one time.
Yeah.
Where it was to scare without actually acknowledging the guests.
Oh, okay.
It was incredibly difficult at first.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how do I do this? And I was a clown. And I was in like a cage type room.
Yeah.
Where there were a bunch of clowns in cages. So there were props in like one cage that were like all these clowns. And then there was me.
Yep.
With a couple of dummy clowns. But we were in this cage. And there happened to be like a drain kind of like at the front right-hand side of the cage.
Yeah.
And it happened to be like half in the cage and half in the footpath.
Yeah.
And so I decided to name the drain.
Okay.
The drain's name, I happened to go with Georgie.
Oh.
I went with
Love
Georgie.
Georgie.
So Georgie was in the drain. And Georgie was talking to me.
Oh God.
And like,
And this was way, I mean, yes, it from the 80s would have been out by then, but like this was way before.
This was a long time before the new movies had come out.
Yeah.
And so I just remember, like, I think I made up this story about how Georgie was telling me to, like, kill the guests or something. And I kept,
Solid.
like, so I was facing the wall
Yeah.
as the guests were coming through. And so they would be, like, I had the cage around me. And so they would be coming through and hearing this dialogue of, like, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it, Georgie. You can't convince me, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm staring at this wall, and then I bust the wall, like I slam the wall
Yeah.
with my hand or my leg.
Yeah.
And then I go right to the drain, like turn around so quickly. And then I go, Georgie, I told you, I can't do it. And I would be like smacking at this drain, and they're like losing it because it's right at their feet.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God. And it worked. It worked really well.
That is so cool.
A couple people it didn't work on, and that's okay.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever like spoken to a drain, but I have done where like I play off the animatronics
Yes.
a lot. There was this one flyer that would come out of these French doors in a room. And I oh my God, I named him George.
What is up?
I'm
with
not
that
even
name,
kidding.
George?
I named him George. And so he would come out and I would have like one of two reactions when he would come out. It would either be like, oh, look at our guests, George. They've come to play. Let's
Right.
see how long they'll stay. And then it would be like me, like, George, stop scaring our guests. Get the fuck back in your closet. Like it would be one. But like people would freak out because
Yeah, yeah.
they'd be like, why are you talking to this thing that's flying in my face? Or what is this thing going to do to me now?
Yeah.
So it's, I was about to say I've never talked to inanimate objects. That's not true, but
But you
like
have.
I've never like done it with like a drain or
Yeah.
like a light, which is
Yeah.
a really cool idea and concept.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think if you can really think outside of the box. And that whole challenge kind of taught me something, because you don't have to have your sole focus be on the guests.
Yeah.
And like, I had touted that for a long time, and I had done that practice before, but it was a good reminder and a good lesson that you can scare someone without being direct.
Absolutely.
Right? And of course, I had taught how to scare prior to this. And so like, and I was out of the game. This is like when I had kind of came back and I was asked to scare, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I'd kind of lost the understanding of like, you know, be completely direct.
Yeah.
And so I think the person who was supervising me at the time saw that I was being a little bit too repetitive.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that you kind of need to avoid.
Yeah.
Because
just because something works
doesn't mean
the
it's
first
gonna
10 times
work the 50th time.
Yeah.
And it becomes repetitive, not only for you, but for the guests. And
because people tend to go through haunted houses
multiple
times.
times. So if they see it over and over again, they're going to be like, oh, I know what's going to happen.
And one of the
It's
best
scary.
parts is like a character, like you go into a house multiple times. It's like, it's something different. Yeah.
And that's something that you want, because you want people to come back.
Yeah.
And so it was a good reminder and a good refresher that you can do things differently and change it up.
Yeah.
And the dialogue doesn't have to be with the guest. It can be with anything else in your room.
Could be with yourself.
It could be with yourself. And so like those types of things help character development. It helps story, and it's effective.
Yes.
It's very effective.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have time for that last question.
I can't remember what it was.
Me neither.
What was it? Oh, what's the weirdest thing you've heard like in a haunt?
Oh,
from
God.
character?
I mean, I've heard a lot of weird things in a haunt.
Yeah.
A lot of inappropriate things for the type of character I may have been playing. Disclaimer for everyone going to a haunted house. If you see a child character, stop saying inappropriate things.
Oh my God.
It is disturbing on a not good, scary level. Like, I can't tell you how many times I was dressed up as like a kid with pigtails to try to emphasize the young age. And I got just the most gross things said to me.
Gruesome stuff.
Just like
Leave it
the
alone.
best thing I got out of those types of things was someone would be like, I want you to be my girlfriend. And like you'd play along and be like, oh, I can't. My dad says that he'd murder anyone who wants to be my boyfriend or something like that. But like it can go really far into the horrible, horrendous area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are some weird things I've heard.
Yeah.
But in a more playful context, it would probably just be like the random things that we would tell actors to say. Like okay. We have this friend who he is the most lovely, bubbly person ever. Evan, if you're listening. Hi.
He's the one who did the chicken thing.
Yeah, of course he was. But I remember one time, I don't even know if he remembers this, but I can hear his voice in my head. And all I remember him saying was, oh no, my toenail. But that was it. No other content. And it was like after you had just left the room.
Right.
And it was just, oh no, my toenail. And for whatever reason, I was like laughing, but then like scared, but also concerned because I was like,
gross.
what happened to his toenail? What happened? And you're like, then you're trying to think about, you're like, did he rip off his toenail? Did he just stub his toe? That was
so
funny.
gross.
Like just a random thing to say. So I think that's one of the best things I've heard, but mostly probably because of the person it came from. That, and of course the screw story with like, oh no, is that the screw from your chair? And it went straight up.
Bing.
Yeah.
I think the weirdest for me, okay, it's not the weirdest I've heard, but maybe the funniest weirdest thing was when one of our friends was playing the little boy character.
Yeah.
And someone had dropped their pizza
Oh no.
out front,
Oh.
like face down.
Yeah.
And without skipping a beat, like before the person could even like pick it up,
Yeah.
he comes shooting out of the front section and shoves the whole thing in his mouth and like full on assert dominance, stares at the person in the eye and is just chewing. Like that was the weirdest by far.
I think if it's because in my mind, I'm envisioning 2 different people doing that. And there's one other, like, if it's the same person I'm thinking of, he did a different thing as like a different character, similar but different.
Yeah.
He, I was just visiting. I was bringing friends to the haunted theme park, and we were eating these like tater tot things.
Oh yes, it's
Yeah.
the same person.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, cause he tends to be the one involved in food
With food
yeah.
stuff.
So
Very
he-
food motivated.
I mean, he works hard and he needs that
Yes.
food to keep him going.
Sustenance, because
Yeah.
very high energy.
So all of these friends that I brought with me to the haunt, they are very scared. And so we're eating these tater tots, and he is wearing this mask, like this clown style mask. And so I'm really comfortable with him. But I was like, here, do you want some food? He's like, yeah, I totally want some food. So like I fed him some of these tater tots. And he was like, it's not what I wanted. So he's chewed it up, but he didn't swallow, and he spits it out onto a public picnic table.
Gross.
That has not only my friend sitting at, but other people sitting.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't want that. He was like, and then he like looks at us and looks back at the tater tots. He's like, no, I did want that. And picks it back up, puts it in his mouth again, and then eats it. And my friends, like that for them, that was the scariest thing
Yes,
the whole time.
that's disgusting.
They're screaming in all the haunted houses. But the one thing that we talk about to this day is that clown ate those tater tots, spit them out, and ate them again. And I was like,
It's so gross.
yeah, I don't understand how he's still alive.
Okay, maybe this is a phenomenon just for our experiences, but like the amount of food stories we have
Oh my God.
is just too many. Like
Mini donuts, man.
the mini donuts, popcorn on the ground, like the amount of stuff that people would eat off the ground.
The popcorn. Oh God. Yeah, people would just like take popcorn. Like someone would buy you like a little carton of popcorn. You would take it and you get so excited that like you're shaking and it's going up and it's everywhere in the
Yeah.
air. And all of a
Yeah,
sudden
yeah.
you're like, my popcorn's on the ground. So you get on
Yeah.
your hands and knees and you're eating it.
Yeah. I remember sticking popcorn in my blood, like my fake blood, and then
Oh, yeah.
licking it off of my own face.
Yeah.
Like the amount, okay.
We're messed up.
I just think it's a suspension of like, because you're in the character,
Yeah.
right? So that's what the
So
character would do.
You don't even
and you
second
don't even
guess it.
think about
No.
it. And so you just do it. And then afterwards you're like, wow, that was gross.
Yeah, I look back now and I'm like, I've eaten a lot of chips off of the floor. It's not something I'm
I've eaten
proud
a lot
of, but am.
questionable things.
Yeah.
I've had people offer me like food that's probably questionable, ate it anyways.
And this goes back to one of the things I'm really not proud of. I remember eating like, it was chips. It had to be chips. And I remember eating it and it was already wet. And I was like, but I kept going with it. And I look back now and I'm like, my mother would be so disappointed in me.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
Okay, so those are the weirdest things we've seen at a haunt. I think we should wrap it up there.
I think so. Oh, God, I'm
man.
hungry now.
Yeah, me too. Wow. Okay. So thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Next episode is going to be a fun one. I'm not going to say who we
No.
have on it, but
I'm so excited.
We have a fun special guest that we're going to have, and I'm very excited.
Yeah. Until then, if you guys have any of your favorite scary characters that you have
Yep.
either acted in or you've seen, or if you have seen some really horrendous characters or haunted house stories, please let us know.
And let us know if you agree with our story type, like our theme
Yeah.
opinions. Like, start a
Not everyone's
conversation
going to
with us.
agree, but
Yeah.
it's nice to hear different ideas and concepts. And
Yeah.
like we said before, like some things that work for one person doesn't work for another.
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, tell us. Maybe you can change our minds.
Yeah.
Mm.
As you know, our DMs are open. If you have any stories that you want to share,
What
you
up?
can hit us up. There are submission forms.
Yeah.
On our link tree that is
Yeah.
on our Instagram bio. If you want to get in contact with us, that's a good place to do it. If
Yeah.
not, our DMs are open.
Yeah, check us out at Just Haunted House Things.
Yep.
And if you want, you can check out our individual profiles. Mine is at Brianne_Granger.
And mine is at Courtney GRVS.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck spelling my name. I want you guys to figure that out on your own.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. And this has
Bye.
been
Just Haunted House Things.